Yo, what's up, guys? Let's talk about Scout Battle today. So, Scout Battle has been added for a while right now. We all have been using a lot of Scout Battle. And I kind of want to talk about it if it was for better parts of the game or was it actually making it worse? And also, how could they improve it? Because in the end, this is a first iteration. I don't expect, for example, in like 3 or 4 years, for Scout Battle to be exactly the same as it is right now. But first, let's look at the numbers. What does Scout Battle actually give? Well, Scout Battle will give us for if we're doing Giants, so we're making the assumption that we're doing Giants. I'm doing Frost Jade right now, but just for the assumption of Giants, we would do a 230 runs for 500 energy. Energy in 8 hours of time. That is pretty much what Scout Battle is doing. But how much would that cost if we do that same 230 runs on a Giants if we were to do that normally? Well, then it would be 230 runs times 9 is a 2070 energy, which is about an X4 in price, which is quite a bit more expensive. But if we look at the duration is going to be also then 230 times let's say 30-second run. My averages are a little bit faster than that. However, there is one thing, like if your game does say it's like, oh, you're averaging 20 seconds, the loading time in between both matches or when the screen of the victory is there, so one of those two is not counted in and it's still like 3 or 4 extra seconds. So that's also if you do an auto battle run of something and it says like 10 minutes, in actual real time it's like 12-ish minutes. So we just make the assumption for 30 seconds of actual time in that case, just because it's an easy number to actually work with, because then we would have this would be the seconds. If we divide that by a 60, I already did the math, then we would look at 115 minutes, which is pretty much divided by 4 for the duration. So it is 4 times more expensive, but 4 times faster. That is kind of the deal behind it. And what is actually the kind of result on this? So this is pretty much all that is sums up for, is it worth it or not? And I would say for a lot of people, it is pretty much do your Ameria's Luck, which is the thing that we know over here. And then afterwards, it is just Scout Battling, and that's just that. And at first, when I thought Scout Battle was released, I expected Scout Battle to just be there for the overnight farming. So just overnight farming, that's all you do with it, and nothing else. But what it came down to for a lot of people is like, I do the Amira's Luck, I Scout Battle for 3 times a day for 8 hours, and then we just call it a day, which is definitely, I think, for free-to-play, by far the best way to do it. But then also, does it make the game boring? Yeah, I would say so, because it becomes a game where I think what Summoners War had as peak over other games is that you always had a reason to log in. You always had something to do. And sure, you could go into all kinds of PvP and that kind of stuff, even as free-to-play and that kind of things. But there was always something to do. There was always something to look at your phone, like, oh, you got a new rune, your next run of 30 started, or anything like that. Sure, a lot of people like it that they don't have to be on their phone. But it was the charm of Summoners War that there was always something to do. Whereas with the Scout Battle right now, it's a little bit boring. Like, you just, for the most part, you just Scout Battle on the side, and then you call it a day, and then you do your Mirror's Luck, and you do the events, which are also kind of boring at the moment, but we'll talk about in a second as well. And yeah, you just call it a day, so then you're just not really participating in the game that much. The game is also not motivating you to do that much more than just your Scout Battles and nothing else. And I think that's kind of sad. Like, I think, like, also for me, a big part of the game was always, oh, let's try to get better dungeon teams, more effective, more efficient, better speeds, all of that kind of good stuff. But right now it's like, yeah, that just makes it more expensive, and it's not really needed, especially because Scout Battle never fails, which is also never fails, which is pretty much like a hard value of like, yo, you might as well just Scout Battle, because you can get your Scout Battle to the max runs the moment that you do have a failing run, and then your Scout Battle will never fail again, which is also pretty insane if you talk about it like that. So, big question is, does it get boring? Yeah, I think the game gets boring because of it, and I feel more and more people are feeling more disconnected from the game because of it. But talking in buffs and nerfs, I will also talk about the solution for that. So then if we talk about Amira's Luck, well, it's pretty simple. You get ×5 on the drop rate over here. And since this is that strong, I feel like people do not really farm outside of this. And it's the same thing with the events. The events do not really promote it that you should be playing more than 500 energy a day. Because I think that which one of the events it is, there's always a bunch of these going on. There was one event which really clearly showed it. It's like, oh yeah, you can do a Maris Luck. You can get by max 300 per day. So 300 per day, cool. I can get those from all of these kind of things. But in the end, if I need 300 per day and I can get 500 in here, this is already 350. Why the fuck would I even care about the rest? That's just one of those things that, that's pretty much all events these days. Just do a Maris Luck and you're done with the event, which doesn't really give you any reason to play any more than that. And maybe they want to make the game push towards that so that you don't have to play as much. I don't know. But for me, always the charm was kind of with Summoner's War, there was something to do. And then the big question is, how to change that? Because I've been talking to a few people out there. I actually got some great ideas from other people. First of all, this is not gonna happen. But for me personally, I think that Scout Battle max 8 hours a day would have been great if they did that on release. However, before people start typing and yapping in the chat already, it's going to be very simple. They cannot take this back. They will never do this. And if they would do this, they get a lot of people mad, and therefore they would never do this. So I would say nerf it by only make it 8 hours a day if they did that from the start, and then you can still choose to farm the other hours if you want to, and then this is just your overnight farming. But they will never do that, simply because if you take something away from free-to-play right now, people are going to be hella mad. So I'll also take that off right here. But I think from the start, it would have been maybe better to do that and then maybe expand it later to saying like, oh, maybe you can do 2 or 3 times a day of 8 hours, rather than straight up like, yo, you can Scout Battle 24 hours. And I was talking a fair bit with Nev the other day, from also SWC player, and he was actually saying this, which I was thinking about, so like, yo, that actually makes a lot of sense. And hear me out, this is going to be sounding very OP at first, but then we're going to talk about it. No, actually, let's first go for the idea that I had, and then we're going to go for the idea that Nev had, because I think Nev's idea was better than mine. So I would say to promote people to farm more, make dungeons cheaper. So right now we're looking at a 4x to farm things. How about it would be just a 3.5x or a 3x to farm things, rather than you having to spend 4 times as much on your crystals to actually farm. So if you make your dungeons like -1 or -2 on energy, people get more of a reason to go back into dungeons, because that's where they can then use your energy, which is option 1, buff by making dungeons cheaper, or, which is the idea of Nev. This is gonna sound very OP, but hear me out. Make Scout Battle fully free of energy. That's already what people's like, yo, wait, what? Make it full free of energy? We're gonna go 2 on top of that, and can always Scout Battle while farming. How about this? It sounds OP as fuck. It will definitely boost a lot of people to get a lot of shit going in, but at least you have a reason to still farm. Because sure, you could still say it's like, okay, I'm just not gonna use any resources towards farming, and I'm just gonna put everything in like lucky boxes or summons or whatever you want. But for the people that would actually still like to farm, but they're not farming because they feel like it's not efficient way of farming, because you're paying 4 times the price to do normal farming, let's just remove the 4 times the price. This is always there, and then you can choose if you also want to farm normally. And right now, it's just like you kind of make the choice, either you do Scout Battles or you do normal farming, but it is like a 4 times the price. It's like that discount is too crazy. So something like this, I would like that. And maybe tune down Scout Battle a little bit, that you don't get that many crazy rewards or something like that. But you can always have it on while normal farming. Plus, I think that's also a really big thing, that make Scout Battle 12 hours. And why 12 hours? Like, if you don't do this, make it 12 hours and then reduce and up the cost, like similar, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. But 8 hours is kind of a mark for a lot of people. Maybe you sleep 8 hours, but not when you wake up, you right away pick up your phone or those kind of things. Some people sleep more than 8 hours. Maybe your work shift is longer than 8 hours. 8 hours is kind of the edge where it's like, yeah, it's mostly not that convenient, whereas 12 hours would totally be fine. So I think that those buffs would definitely help out a bit. But I think that this one makes Scout Battle fully free of energy, that it doesn't cost anything. and always be able to scout battle outside of your energy, which then also kind of promotes it where you can go back to events, because currently I think a lot of the events are gate kept between just doing your Ameria's Luck and just simply doing your scout battle, because, well, they're not really saying do scout battle, but for free to play, you got the energy and the crystal consumption to do scout battle, do your Ameria's Luck, and call it a day. And with this, you can actually make events go back to is like, hey, let's do a little bit extra farming because now you have extra crystals to do those extra farming. And if you do this and you have the rewards from your scout battle, I'd be completely fine with that. Maybe free to play is a little bit less fine with that. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. Because I think right now the game is getting quite boring. And that is sad to see. I think that the game always had like a value of like, because not everyone likes the PvP aspects of the game. The PvP aspects are mostly the tilting, the RNG, that's that kind of thing. But right now it becomes a very idle collector of like, oh, I log in after 12 hours, collect all of these, and then, or like 8 hours, and then you just start the next run of 8, and then you do this, you take 5 minutes to do the events, and then that's pretty much that. Which, yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, because in the end, I look at from a very high-end perspective of the game, of like very end game. I've been playing for way too long. Maybe if I'll start the new beginner series, which I'm planning to do on probably April when the 12th anniversary event is there. If the 12th anniversary event has good beginner events. If the 12th anniversary event doesn't have good beginner events, I might postpone it until like the next Fever booster, if they're ever gonna do that kind of thing again. Or whenever there's actual good beginner events, because I really am looking forward to starting a new beginner series. Because that also is just fun for streaming content and that kind of stuff, so I don't have to tilt on RTA and kind of things. But yeah, I'm curious to see what you guys will think about this as well from that kind of perspective. On the beginner series, I will also have a better feeling for like how is it to be free to play. And pretty much that account will be running on just scout battles and Ameria's Luck. But I would also like to have a reason to make a good dungeon team. I would like to have a reason to make a faster team. But also, if we want to talk about buffs, I feel like a failed run shouldn't cost energy. Because Scout Battle is that good right now that it cannot fail, I feel like a failed run should not cost energy. What do you guys think about that one? And I see that in some other games they're doing the same thing. And this also allows you to go for a team that you're like, as long as I don't fail 3 in 30, it's fine because it still keeps going on. But every time that you go in here, and you see your end of the run, and you have like this one failed run because your Prillia decided to be like, ooh, and not def break for whatever stupid reason, like 3 times in a row on like a 95 check or something. Then yeah, that's just annoying. So I think that it should be wasting your time, but it should not be wasting your resources. So let me know what you guys think about that. And then I also want to do a quick review on the newest added features to the game, and also where I think it is lacking and where I think it's really bad and just never use it. So first of all, let's showcase what it is. So we now have, I'm not sure if I even have re-ups. If I have re-ups, I also want to drop it on the re-up target that I would like to use. This one, these over here are for my targets. This one, do I have any re-up targets? I don't have a re-up target. But in here, you can do the repeat re-up. I would honestly never use this. Never. Because if you set up something, let's say that it rolls a 30 crit rate and you're like, yo, I only selected it to speed and a few other things, but not the 30 crit rate. It's skipping your 30 crit rate, whereas you might have been like, okay, I have enough re-up targets, a really crazy quad, or even this with like a 40 defense, I would be like, yo, I'll find another target. I'll just make this for some kind of weird unit. You do not want to use this re-up appraisal. Absolutely not. I would not recommend it. Re-ups are way too expensive for this. Do not use it. It was the dumbest thing to ever add into the game for this specific. However, I think it is a very good take for this rerolling. Currently, I don't have that many of this. Do I have one that I would like to? Yeah, I can have one that I can kind of waste a few on that I don't mind as much. If we go this and I have a damage up and then a damage up. Nope, wait, this one, not this one, this one. This one I would like to make, for example, a 7+. which is kind of nice that you can now put it to the thing over here. You can select it to being a crit damage more on a 7 and up, and you can hit the convert and it will do it automatically for you. Two things that I have issues with this. A, this is the slowest thing I've seen in Mankind. Apps did talk about it on his stream that it might be that they're kind of testing the waters of like, can the server get that many requests back to back without getting overloaded and that kind of stuff, and therefore they're trying out a slower thing first and then cranking it up later on. Might be, sounds a little bit lame to me, but from a coding kind of perspective, I can kind of get that out there, but that's okay. So after 10, you see whatever you want to click on if it did not get any of those. But the issue for me is the moment that you go in this, why did it not save whatever I just chose before? Like, why do I have to scroll down the list again to select this thing again? That's just stupid. So those are the kind of things that I would say that this thing can be improved on speed, and also that you don't have to click this. And also, by all means, just do it until you have it. Like, who cares about 10? Like, I just want to walk away and come back with like 100 million less mana and then still not fit. I don't know, man. But yeah, something like this. I still also kind of feel like if you do enough tries that you should just get it at some point, but they probably will never do that. But a place where I think they should have definitely added this in is for grinds and gems. Like, why would you not do this for grinds and gems when you do this for re-ups? Like, re-ups are super crazy expensive. You don't want to use this. But for example, this, I save a lot of these and I just throw them at everything that is a usable rune until it's 7. But for me to get this thing to a 7 might take me 1 try. It might take me 18 tries. But I don't want to be sitting here clicking every time to get that thing to +7 and then go to the next and get it to +7. I just want to say on this one, roll until it's 7. And in this case, it goes pretty fast and we're getting kind of lucky. But in a lot of cases, this will take forever. And you just don't want to be sitting here dropping like 15 individual ones in this. This is where I just want to say is like, go to 7. And actually, I'm getting kind of lucky. Well, it's a 1 in 4 chance every time. But especially if you're going to go from a 6 to a 7. 6, 7. But that kind of stuff. That should be, this should be for never for re-ups. And add for grind/gems. Because in the end, grinds and gems, if you farm enough, you're gonna have like a pile of like 30 or 40 of these at some point, and it's just like, yo, use them. Just use them until it's 7. I don't care how many it is. And sure, it might burn a few of those things, but yeah, that's just the game. Also, I'm still of a believer that after you did, let's say 4 or 5 tries of the same, you should get a guaranteed higher. A lot of people would like that on the speed 4 to 5, but they probably don't really like pities in this game. But yeah, those are pretty much the topics of today. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. I think it will be a really good thing that if they make Scout Battle 12 hours and if they make Scout Battle full, free of energy, and the Scout Battle can always be used while farming. Especially this one. Because if you make this again, you kind of have to do this as well, or just make it a lot cheaper. Otherwise, people still don't do it, and you're boosting pay to win a little bit too much. But if you do the combination, you give free-to-play people a reason to farm outside of the Amira's Luck right now. Because right now, there's pretty much no reason to farm outside of the Amira's Luck. Well, that's that, guys. Let me know what you think, and see you as always in the next one. Maybe come to us, we'll do something about this if they see this video. I do know that they're watching my videos. At least the local offices like NA or EU are watching these things. Especially EU, I have more contact with. And I send these kind of videos to them. They report it to HQ. And then we don't know what happens with them. That's the honest answer. But I can tell EU is giving it value to push that through. And I do highly appreciate that. And probably HQ is looking at that. I appreciate it as well. But they don't tell me what's going on with that. That's the only issue. So I'm also kind of fishing in the dark over here. But I'm still here giving my feedback because I have passion for the game. And I would like to make it better. And hope you guys do as well. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. See you later. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.